It's 6:30 in the morning. You step outside with your coffee. The grass is still wet with dew. Everything looks perfectly normal until you notice something. Tiny footprints right across your backyard. They begin near your fence, cross your lawn, circle your bird feeder, disappear beneath your deck, and then they're simply gone. No broken fence, no obvious animal, no clues. Just dozens of tiny tracks left while you were asleep. Now here's the strange part. This happens to thousands of homeowners across America every single morning, and most never realize how many visitors came to their yard overnight. Some people immediately assume it was a squirrel. Others blame neighborhood cats. Some even wonder if it was something much stranger, because once you start following mysterious footprints, your imagination fills in the blanks. But what if I told you the smallest footprints often belong to the most surprising visitors? Some leave tracks that look almost human. Some seem to appear from nowhere and vanish without explanation. One famous set of mysterious footprints was so bizarre that an entire English county believed the devil himself had walked through the snow. And even today, scientists can identify individual animals from nothing more than a single footprint, which raises an interesting question. How much is a footprint really capable of telling us? By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for when mysterious tracks appear around your home. You'll learn how wildlife experts identify an animal using only a few prints in the dirt. You'll discover the biggest mistakes almost everyone makes when trying to guess the culprit. And near the end, I'll show you one incredibly simple trick that can reveal every animal visiting your backyard while you sleep, without buying an expensive trail camera. Trust me, once you learn this, you'll never look at your backyard the same way again. Because those tiny footprints aren't just random marks in the dirt. They're a story that begins every night, long after you've gone to bed. So let's find out, who really left those tiny footprints around your house?
Think about this for a second. While you're locking your doors, turning off the lights, and getting ready for bed, your backyard is just beginning its busiest shift of the day. By midnight, your quiet lawn has transformed into something remarkably different. It's a highway, not for cars, but for wildlife. A raccoon quietly climbs over your fence. A rabbit hops across the grass looking for fresh shoots. A field mouse darts between flower beds. An owl glides silently overhead. A skunk wanders by, nose to the ground, searching for insects. Even a curious opossum might stop by your compost bin before disappearing into the darkness. Most homeowners never witness any of this, because these animals have spent thousands of years becoming experts at avoiding us. They're quiet, they're cautious, and they usually finish their nightly business long before the first porch light turns on. So if you never actually see them, how do we know they were there? Because unlike perfect thieves, they leave evidence. Every single step they take tells a story. And here's where things get really interesting. Most people try to identify an animal by its size. Big mistake. A surprisingly large raccoon can leave footprints not much bigger than a house cat's. A tiny squirrel can leave tracks that confuse people into thinking they belong to a rabbit. And a hopping mouse can create prints so strange that in the past, people believed they belonged to something supernatural. So instead of asking, how big are these footprints? Wildlife trackers ask a completely different question. What is the animal doing? Is it walking, running, hopping, climbing, or stopping to investigate something? That movement pattern, called a gait, can reveal far more than the footprint itself. Imagine seeing 4 tiny prints grouped together. Most people see random dots. A tracker sees a story. The animal landed here, paused for a split second, turned its head, then leaped toward the bird feeder. It's almost like reading invisible handwriting left behind during the night. And once you know how to read it, your backyard starts talking to you. But before we identify our first suspect, you need to learn the 4 clues that wildlife experts look for before they ever guess the animal. Because these clues eliminate almost every wrong answer in seconds. And one of them is hiding in every single footprint, yet almost nobody notices it.
Imagine you're a detective arriving at a crime scene. There are no witnesses, no security cameras, no fingerprints, just a trail of tiny footprints disappearing into the bushes. Most people would shrug and guess. A wildlife tracker doesn't guess, they investigate. And almost every investigation starts with 4 simple clues. Once you know them, you'll never look at footprints the same way again. Clue number 1. Count the toes. It sounds almost too simple, but it's often the fastest way to narrow down your suspect. Mice usually leave 4 tiny toes on their front feet and 5 on their back feet. Squirrels do the same, but their prints are much larger and more spread out. Raccoons? They have 5 long fingers on both front and back feet. The first time you see one, you'll probably think a tiny human child wandered through your yard. In fact, raccoon tracks are so hand-like that they've startled homeowners for generations. Cats are different. They usually leave 4 rounded toes with almost no visible claw marks because cats retract their claws while walking. Dogs, on the other hand, almost always leave claw marks behind. Just counting toes can eliminate half your suspects before you even look at anything else. Clue number 2. Look for claws. Now here's something most people completely overlook. Claw marks. Rodents, dogs, foxes, skunks, they usually leave tiny claw impressions ahead of each toe. Cats rarely do. It's such a small detail, yet it instantly separates 2 animals that many people constantly confuse. Nature leaves signatures. You just have to notice them. Clue number 3. Watch the pattern, not the print. Now we get to the clue that surprises almost everyone. A single footprint tells you what visited. A trail of footprints tells you how it thinks. Picture 2 different visitors. One carefully places one foot after another in a neat line. The other seems to leap through your yard, leaving little groups of footprints before disappearing. Those aren't random patterns. They're different ways of moving through the world. Mice, chipmunks, rabbits, and squirrels don't usually stroll across your yard. They bound. Their powerful back legs launch them forward, often landing ahead of their front feet. That's why their tracks look like tiny explosions instead of footprints. Meanwhile, animals like raccoons, foxes, cats, and opossums tend to walk one step at a time, leaving much more orderly trails. Without seeing the animal, you can often tell whether it was calmly exploring or desperately trying to avoid becoming someone else's dinner. Clue number 4. The clue almost nobody notices. Finally, look between the footprints. Not at them, between them. Sometimes you'll spot a faint line running through the center of the trail, almost like someone dragged a string across the dirt. That tiny line changes everything. A mouse dragging its tail, a lizard sliding through loose soil. Even certain reptiles leave long, unmistakable trails behind them. Most people never notice that extra clue. Trackers look for it first, because sometimes the space between the footprints tells a bigger story than the footprints themselves. So now you know the 4 clues: toes, claws, movement, everything in between. And with just those 4 pieces of evidence, you can solve most backyard mysteries. Most. Because every once in a while, a trail appears that breaks every rule. No obvious animal, no clear explanation, just a line of strange footprints stretching for miles. A mystery so bizarre that nearly 200 years ago, it convinced thousands of people that something not of this world had walked across the snow. And that's where our investigation takes a very unexpected turn.
If you think people only get confused by mysterious footprints today, think again. Let's travel back nearly 170 years. It's the winter of 1855 in Devon, England. During the night, a heavy snowfall blankets the countryside. The next morning, people step outside and freeze, because stretching across the fresh snow is a single trail of strange footprints, not just through one backyard, not just across one village. For mile after mile, the prints seem to march across rooftops, stone walls, frozen rivers, even over haystacks. Some witnesses claim the trail stretched dozens of miles. The footprints looked oddly like tiny cloven hooves, almost as if something walked on 2 perfectly shaped hooves, one step after another, without ever stopping. Panic spread quickly. Churches filled with frightened people. Newspapers couldn't stop talking about it. Many became convinced there was only one possible explanation. The devil had walked through Devon. Imagine waking up, looking out your window, and seeing what appeared to be Satan's footprints leading across your neighborhood. It sounds unbelievable today, but fear has a way of filling in the blanks when evidence doesn't.
For decades, no one could explain the mystery. Some blamed giant birds. Others suggested escaped kangaroos. Yes, actual kangaroos. Others believed it was a clever hoax. The mystery became one of Britain's most famous unsolved stories. Until something fascinating happened. Scientists stopped asking, what creature leaves hoof-shaped footprints? Instead,
They asked, could ordinary footprints look extraordinary under the right conditions? That single question changed everything. Researchers recreated the tracks made by small animals moving through fresh snow, and they discovered something completely unexpected. When a mouse leaps, its front feet often land close together. Its larger back feet swing forward. As the snow melts, several separate prints begin merging into one strange shape. Instead of looking like 4 tiny footprints, they can resemble a single cloven hoof. In other words, one of history's greatest supernatural mysteries may have been caused by nothing more terrifying than a mouse. And that's a lesson every wildlife tracker learns sooner or later. The ground can lie to you. Snow melts, mud spreads, rain softens edges, wind erases details. By morning, an ordinary footprint may no longer look ordinary at all, which is exactly why experience trackers don't rely on just one print. They study the entire trail, the spacing, the direction, the rhythm, because the story isn't hidden in one footprint. It's hidden in all of them together. And today, we're doing something those people in 1855 could never have imagined. Scientists can now identify wildlife using nothing more than a picture of a footprint. Some conservation teams even use artificial intelligence to recognize individual animals from the unique shape of their tracks, almost like facial recognition, except the face is a footprint. Think about that. A clue so small that most of us would walk right past it can now help protect endangered species around the world. Which makes you wonder, if a single footprint can reveal that much, what secrets are hiding in the trails that appear around your own house? Because now it's time to meet the visitors that surprise American homeowners the most. And one of them leaves footprints that look uncannily like tiny human hands.
So, who are the mysterious nighttime visitors that leave homeowners scratching their heads every morning? Let's meet the usual suspects. And trust me, some of them are probably visiting your backyard more often than you think. Suspect number 1, the mouse. If the footprints are incredibly tiny, almost like someone sprinkled little dots across the ground, there's a good chance you're looking at a mouse. A mouse rarely wanders aimlessly. It hugs fences, walls, flower beds, anything that provides cover from predators. Its goal isn't to explore your yard. It's trying to survive the night. And because mice can squeeze through openings no wider than a dime, the footprints outside your house may also mean there's an easy way inside your house. Not a pleasant thought, but an important one.
Suspect number 2, the squirrel. Now here's an animal almost everyone guesses, but often for the wrong reason. Squirrels don't leave neat walking trails. They bounce. Their powerful back legs swing ahead of their front legs, creating a distinctive pattern that almost looks backward at first glance. If the tracks seem playful, jumping from one spot to another, stopping beneath the tree, then suddenly disappearing up the trunk, you've probably found your culprit. And here's something fascinating. A squirrel rarely forgets where it buries its food. Instead, studies suggest it relies on an extraordinary combination of memory, smell, and environmental landmarks to relocate hidden nuts months later. Which means those tiny footprints circling your oak tree may be part of a pantry that's been growing for years. Suspect number 3, the backyard bandit. Now we move to the animal that surprises homeowners the most, the raccoon. At first glance, its footprints don't even look like animal tracks. They look human. 5 long fingers, a narrow palm, almost like a tiny child walked across the mud during the night. No wonder early settlers found them unsettling. But here's what makes raccoons truly remarkable. They aren't just curious, they're incredibly intelligent. Research has shown raccoons can solve complex problems, remember solutions for long periods, and quickly adapt to new environments. In many suburban neighborhoods, they've essentially learned how humans live. They know which garbage cans are easiest to open, which bird feeders spill the most seed, even what time neighborhoods usually become quiet. Your backyard isn't just part of nature anymore. To a raccoon, it's part of its nightly routine. Suspect number 4, the unexpected visitors. Just when you think you've identified every possible suspect, nature throws in a surprise. A rabbit leaves 4 neatly grouped prints before vanishing beneath the hedge. A skunk slowly shuffles across the lawn searching for grubs. An opossum quietly patrols your fence line, eating insects, fallen fruit, and even unwanted pests. Even an owl, a bird so silent that you almost never hear it, can leave delicate footprints beneath the exact branch where it landed moments before swooping down on its prey. Most people think their backyard belongs to them. In reality, they're sharing it with an entire neighborhood they almost never see.
And here's the incredible part. Everything we've talked about today, the toes, the claws, the patterns, the mysterious stories, the famous footprints that fold an entire country, they're all leading to one realization. Your backyard has been telling you stories every single night. The only reason they seemed mysterious was because nobody ever taught you how to read them. But before we end, there's one simple experiment that can turn your backyard into a wildlife detective's dream. It costs almost nothing, takes less than 5 minutes to set up, and tomorrow morning, you might discover visitors you never knew existed.
Let me leave you with a challenge. Not next month, not someday. Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you leave for work, walk into your backyard. Slow down. Look at the ground. Because if you know what you're looking for, you may realize you weren't the only one who spent the night there. If you find a trail, don't immediately ask, "What animal is this?" Instead, ask 4 questions. How many toes do I see? Are there claw marks? Did it walk or hop? And is there anything between the footprints, like a tail drag? Those 4 questions alone can solve most backyard mysteries before you ever see the animal itself.
But what if, tomorrow morning, there are no footprints at all? Here's the bonus trick I promised you. It's so simple that wildlife biologists have used versions of it for years. Take a shallow tray, or even a baking pan you no longer use. Fill it with a thin layer of fine sand, or even flour if it's completely dry outside. Place it near your fence, your bird feeder, or anywhere you think animals might travel. Leave it overnight. That's it. By morning, nature may have signed its guestbook. You might find tiny mouse tracks, a squirrel's distinctive leap, the hand-like print of a raccoon, or even multiple visitors that crossed paths while you were asleep. It's one of the easiest and surprisingly addictive ways to discover the hidden world that's been unfolding outside your window every single night. And here's something I find amazing. For thousands of years, long before cameras, long before drones, long before motion sensors, people understood the natural world simply by reading the ground beneath their feet. Indigenous trackers could tell whether an animal was healthy, whether it was carrying food, whether it was frightened, even whether it had stopped to look behind itself. Today, scientists are combining that ancient knowledge with artificial intelligence that can identify animals from photographs of their footprints. Technology has changed, but the footprints, they're still telling the same stories. You just know how to read them now. So the next time you discover mysterious little tracks around your house, don't think of them as random marks in the dirt. Think of them as messages, left behind by neighbors you've probably never met.
If you made it this far, congratulations! You're officially more prepared than most homeowners to solve the next backyard mystery that appears outside your door. And this is only the beginning. Because every backyard has secrets, every forest has stories, and every footprint is the first chapter of a mystery waiting to be solved. If you enjoyed uncovering this one, consider subscribing to Backyard Mysteries. Every week, we'll investigate the strange, fascinating, and often overlooked secrets hiding just beyond your back door. Now, I'm curious, what's the strangest footprint or unexpected animal you've ever found around your home? Tell us your story in the comments. You might inspire the next mystery we investigate together. And if this video helped you solve a mystery or made you look at your own backyard differently, share it with someone who'd love becoming a wildlife detective too. Until next time, keep looking closer, because the greatest mysteries are often hiding in the places we walk past every day.